women have lower expectancy than men in terms of life factor. Insurance is the most important tool or the asset that can be used to mitigate the risk and take over that financial loss. Higher the sum assured or total coverage amount, that directly correlates with the higher premium because insurer takes on greater financial risk. We need to understand risk management by individuals is actually a process by which we mitigate the risk from one point to another. Good morning and welcome to the second session, Unit 2, third semester Insurance Management in BCom, where we're going to talk about management of risk by individuals. Now, whenever we talk about managing of risk, we need to understand risk management by individuals is actually a process by which we mitigate the risk from one point to another, which means to say that let's look at a person and try to understand what kind of potential risk that person can undergo. Now, let's say that those personal risks could be the kind of business, the nature of business in which you are involved, the kind of activities that puts you under a severe financial pressure. So in that condition, insurance is the most important tool or the asset that can be used to mitigate the risk and take over that financial loss. So that's why fixing of premiums is purely dependent on what kind of business, what kind of risk that you are involved with. Based on that would be your premium fixed. Moving on, the individual based factors, we start with age and gender. Premiums are likely to increase with age because individuals typically have a higher risk of health issues and shorter life expectancy. Now, this is a very, very common factor. All of us know that we're not going to stay here permanently as like 1,000 years or 100 years. We are going to die one day. But what is more important here is that the risk factor increases as we start growing older. So what happens in that condition? The premium will also start going up. Similarly, women have lower expectancy than men in terms of life factor. So what happens for women? We normally charge higher premiums altogether. Now, all these factors put together, the health and medical history is also important. Why? Because in case of any pre-existing diseases, or in case of already any massive physical damages that have happened to you in your previous years, all those factors would significantly impact on the insurance premium. Let's say, for example, if the person has got a heart disease, or the person has already been suffering through tuberculosis, or he has undergone a liver damage or a kidney transplant, some major issues, automatically for the insurance company, it becomes a risk to give a coverage to a person like this. So what they do is that they check through the medical history of the person. And the medical history of the person shows that if there is any serious illness, a pre-existing disease that comes into picture, that means you need to increase your premium. The premium will start going up higher because they have to cover this plus give you an insurance backup. Now, followed by which factors affecting, again, we also have the lifestyle and habit. Quite an interesting factor to see here, alcohol consumption and smoking. Nowadays, whether you call this particular habit a social factor, something that is quite commonly found in parties or among the friends or among a weekend get together, but nevertheless, the insurance companies do not vouch for it. Why? Because if the insurance companies start detecting and understanding that you are a person who is addicted to alcohol and smoking, whether you call it as a casual drinker or you call yourself as a part and parcel of your life, but that would definitely increase the risk of your life, and which means that your premium would also start going up. So substantially, you need to pay higher premiums. Now, maintaining a healthy lifestyle will also result in discounts. That is the reason probably today people have started taking up health concerns very seriously, and they want to have a change in their lifestyle. Followed by which, let's get on to the occupations and hobby. The high-risk occupations like pilot, construction workers, or dangerous hobbies like mountaineering, skydiving, all these kind of things will have a greater amount of premiums. Why? Because your lifestyle is prone to risk. Now, compared to that of a desk job, now when you talk about a mountaineering, or you talk about pilots, or you talk about skydiving, the nature of job involves a greater amount of risk. So anything can happen to you just by the virtue of your job. So what happens here is that the premium covered for these people will also be on the higher side. Followed by which, let's also talk about the coverage factors coming into picture, the sum assured. Higher the sum assured or total coverage amount, that directly correlates with the higher premium, because insurer takes on greater financial risk. Nowadays, people find that insurance coverage is not enough at the minimum level. Let's say, for example, the basic insurance cover starts at 10 lakhs. Now, you don't want to just stick on to this 10 lakhs. People want 25 lakhs or 30 or sometimes even at 50 lakhs. So then what happens is that the higher the coverage, the premium also goes up, because this much amount of money the insurance company has to cover for you, they have to bear the financial risk. So that's where this becomes very important. So when people say that 1 crore insurance is available, the premium would also be so much higher. Policy type, it includes features that determine the premium. For example, a comprehensive health plan with lower deductibles is more expensive than the basic plan. Yes, it is. Additional optional coverage known as riders will also interact with the premium. True. Policy term, duration of the policy can affect the premium. For instance, some plans can offer discounts for longer terms. Quite impossible, and it's true for all of us, because we need to know how this insurance work and where these insurance factors are kept in picture. So it's very, very important that we understand this type of policies, what kind of plans they are, when it is getting activated, to what kind of diseases, to what kind of factors these are applicable. All these things have to be understood clearly. Followed by which, the external and the regulatory factors. So the geographic location where you are located, it can vary from where the policyholder lives. Now, for example, you're going to live on the edge of a mountain, definitely the factors cost would be very high, the premiums would go ahead. If you're going to live in a place which is surrounded by natural disaster, again the premium is going to go high. If you're going to live in a normal ordinary town or a village or in a normal suburban areas, the premiums would be lower. Next would be the claim history. Now, what is a claim history? Unfortunately, in case if you are met with an accident or you got admitted to a hospital, you can claim your insurance. But God forbid, this does not become a habit for you, or this does not become a regular exercise. So the more and more you start claiming, that means the insurance company would start getting aware about the factor that this person is susceptible to all kind of dangers. So what happens here is that the claim history starts going up, the policyholder's risk also goes up, which means the premium will also shoot up. So that's the reason, lesser the claim history, almost like nil if I'm trying to talk, then the discounts in terms of premium would also be higher. Sometimes non-life policy would also offer no claim bonus, which reduces the premium factor altogether. Now, the economic conditions, broader economic factors such as inflation in healthcare, cost factor, or market competition among the influences can actually look into in terms of premium rates. The regulatory environment, now in case that you might be able to see that the government bodies regulate how insurers can set rates, fairness and protection among in terms of the consumer factors. So sometime down the lane, the economic conditions will also matter a lot when it comes to the insurance premium. Why? Because in the current economy, we all know that the prices of healthcare concept is very, very high. So sometimes it might shoot up. So you need to understand the broader market conditions before we start getting into this business. Right, now we also do the process of setting up the premium. So first thing, we start with the risk assessment. The actuaries use mathematical and statistical models to arrive at conclusions here. They find out on what basis the data of policyholder happens. Underwriting, evaluate each applicant's risk factors such as health and occupational factors. All those things are very, very important here, which will also lead to understanding and assigning of the premium rate altogether. Now, the process of setting the premiums, what they finally do here is that they determine the appropriate premium rate by considering the expected cost of claims, administrative expense, and a margin for profit. Now, no insurance company is going to run for charity, so they also need to calculate their margins. They also need to see how much they're going to make per person. So the actuaries would actually calculate the premium based on all the above factors with the profit in mind. And then comes the premium payment. They're offered options for paying the premium such as monthly, quarterly, annual installments. So based on your capacity, on your financial strength, you can go ahead and make the payment on time. Now with this, I come to this end of the session. In the next session, we would be covering about the functions of insurance, the history of insurance, uncertainty and risk, principles of insurance. These are very, very important to understand the concept in depth. And with this, we would be able to expand our horizon of learning in terms of insurance. So with this, I would like to come to the end of the session, and I hope that you have learned something practically, both in terms of the examination point, also in your life understanding. So let me come to the end of the day and say a big thank you to all of you for joining me on this wonderful session. You have a great day ahead.